JavaScript is becoming a major player again in the web space. And as such, people are trying to look for ways to make JavaScript a little bit easier. One of those ways is with CoffeeScript. So today we're going to actually show you how to do CoffeeScript inside of your Django applications. There are a lot of ways to do CoffeeScript. Just start taking a look around at what's available for doing CoffeeScript inside of Django, and you will be amazed at the number of different ways that people do implement CoffeeScript inside of their Django projects. Today what we're going to do is we're going to not use a third-party Django library and create our own that essentially we just run a manage task and it compiles our CoffeeScript and drops it into our JavaScript folder as the compiled JavaScript. The reason we're going to implement it as a managed PY task is so that we actually know what the CoffeeScript is doing and where it's doing it, so we have ultimate control over how our CoffeeScript interacts with our application. That way, later, if we choose to do a more automated thing with CoffeeScript, we know what CoffeeScript does and how it works, and we can easily figure out what fits best with our needs. Currently, my personal need requires me to precompile it down to JavaScript before I launch, so that's what we're going to do today in our GoDjango application. The first thing we need to do is install CoffeeScript. I'm going to assume that you have Node.js installed along with the Node Package Manager, because that's how we're going to install CoffeeScript. You can install CoffeeScript other ways, but this is my recommendation. So all we're going to really do is sudo npm install g CoffeeScript, and the G flag is for a global installation because you can install it locally to your current project. We're just going to hit enter. It's going to install. You'll see something like this, but I already have it installed, so it makes it a little bit faster and simpler for me. Now that we have CoffeeScript installed, we're actually going to start working on integrating it into our Django project. To do that, we're going to create an application inside of our project that we're going to use to create a custom command that we can use with our manage PY. It's actually very simple, it just sounds a little daunting whenever you start looking at how to do it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do manage.py start app CoffeeScript. This is just your normal start app command. We're going to cd into our CoffeeScript folder, and then notice we have our normal stuff. The next thing we need to do is we need to create a management folder and a commands folder inside of that. We're going to use this to actually create our commands for when we run the manage PY task for compiling our JavaScript. So to make our folder, we're going to just do make dir and then do the p flag for our path, and then we're going to do management/commands. Enter. So now we actually have our two folders. Since these are inside of our application, we need to actually use the init files so that they can be processed by our Django application. So we're just going to do touch management init.py touch management commands init.py. And there we go. Now we have our base structure ready to go. The next thing we need to do is create our folder where we're going to leave all of our CoffeeScript before compilation. I like to do this inside of the static folder in a folder called coffee. So we're just going to do a make dir, go back up a level, do static, and then just create folder coffee. And there we go. Now we have our actual place where we're going to store all of our coffee files. Next, we need to actually make our task to compile our CoffeeScript into JavaScript. To do that, we're actually going to make a file called compilecoffee.py, and we're going to do that inside of our commands folder that we created earlier. So we should do vim management commands and then compile coffee.py. The compile coffee is going to actually be our physical command we'll run later. The first thing that we need to do is we need to do a few imports. So we do from Django.core.management.base import no args command and command error import OS. So when creating a custom command and that we can run from managed PY, we have to create a class called command, and then it's going to import, in this case, since we're not going to take any arguments, the no args command object. And then so next we're going to do help. This is a standard thing for whenever we run the command, it tells us what it does. Def handle, and this is what's going to allow us, this is going to be the code that is going to be run whenever we run our command. So we're just also going to do f equals os.popen. We're going to do for I in f.readLines, then print I. Okay, what these three lines do that I just did is it's going to run a command on the command line. It's going to read that into F as different lines, and then we're going to just run through that and print that out for anything that has actually been brought back to the user, for the user to see. So if there's specifically, if there's an error, we'll get to see the actual error. Now comes the actual magic of compiling our CoffeeScript into JavaScript. So we're just going to do coffee, since that's the command that we use to run our CoffeeScript, join, and what this does is it takes all of our CoffeeScript files and will combine them into one file. I want to put it in static JS and then app.js is what I want to name that final file. We're going to use the compile flag because we do want to compile it all. Then we want to do static /coffee /star.coffee. That means that every file in our static /coffee folder that's named coffee is going to be joined into our app.js and compiled all together into JavaScript. So we're just going to save that file. We're going to do Q. Earlier I forgot to add our application to our settings file, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do vim settings. So we're going to go to our installed, so open CoffeeScript. Okay. Now that we have our CoffeeScript application added to our project, we should actually be able to run our compile coffee command. There we go, we have a nice big fat error. This is because it can't actually find any coffee files, but I also wanted to show you this so that you can see that those lines that we added in there does actually show you the errors, so you can actually do any debugging that you need to do. So the next thing we need to do is we need to actually create a coffee file. So we do main.coffee. So that actually just created a blank file. So now we're going to run our compile command again, and there it goes. It worked. So what we're going to do is we're going to do vim static coffee main.coffee. We're just going to do a simple alert. Hello world. I already have my reference to my JavaScript in the actual project, since I add it by default because I always name my JavaScript files app.js for the main one. So at this point we just need to do a manage.py, and we're going to do compile coffee, and it should work out. So we're going to do a vim static js app.js. Poof. See, there you go. It converted that line to an actual alert in JavaScript and added our parentheses and our semicolon. So we're just going to quit that. We're going to do a manage.py again, run server, enter. There we go. It's actually running. There we go. And then we're going to do localhost, then enter, and hello world, as you can see from our CoffeeScript. And then we have our demo. So go back and Control C, and there we go. We have successfully gone from no CoffeeScript to the ability to compile and join our CoffeeScript together and put it into a specific location that we want to do. We've added a command that we can run from our manage.py file, and now you can actually create your CoffeeScript, compile it down, it goes into JavaScript, and then all you have to do is run that JavaScript and you're ready to go. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the GoDjango screencasts. Please join us next time, and don't forget to visit the website and leave comments, suggestions, and feedback. Thank you very much.